that comes along that, they're reticent to make, and they didn't want to make it. It was 11 years I was trying to get them to do a Deadpool movie, but they finally did. I think that it's sort of, yes, I have, yeah, without any real control I've done it before, but this film I was lucky enough I got to produce it, and I got to star in it, and I got to really sort of protect it, and I was so vigilant about the canon of Deadpool to make sure that we get every aspect of it right.
The test footage for the original Deadpool leaked onto the internet. Were you behind the leak?
That's a great question. I mean, I might have provided an assist.
Truthful.
I was Scottie Pippen. Hey, I was just there doing my job, and
you were not
someone else gets all the credit.
Okay. Are all the characters you play just Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, sometimes Ryan Rodney Reynolds, unfortunately.
Truth.
Hi friends, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. How is everyone doing? Blake Lively is facing allegations of illegally hijacking a film. She is accused of attempting to take control of the production, editing, and distribution, using her Hollywood influence to pressure a studio into handing over the rights to a sequel. These claims come from Justin Baldoni, as outlined in an amended complaint filed in federal court. The lawsuit, submitted last month, also references a past conflict between Ryan Reynolds and his Deadpool director, Tim Miller. The complaint briefly speculates whether Blake Lively was inspired by her husband's tactics to secure her long-term role as Lily Bloom, potentially shaping her entire career around the character. After digging into this, I discovered more details about Ryan Reynolds' business dealings, which we discussed yesterday. There are many smoke and mirrors surrounding his ventures. His face is prominently associated with several businesses, but his actual ownership and entrepreneurial involvement might not be as significant as people assume. Now, let's shift focus to the illusions surrounding Ryan and Blake as Hollywood power players, producers, directors, and industry leaders. It all started when Ryan Reynolds set his sights on playing Deadpool. He had first portrayed the character in the 2009 film X-Men Origins, Wolverine, where he played Wade Wilson, the man who eventually becomes Deadpool. Ryan quickly grew attached to the role, developing an obsession with bringing the character to life in a way that truly aligned with Marvel Comics' depiction. His determination to make Deadpool a reality led to years of effort, strategic moves, and behind-the-scenes maneuvers to get the standalone film made. Ryan Reynolds was determined to create a standalone Deadpool film, separate from the X-Men franchise. His deep attachment to the character, coupled with his ambition for superhero, more precisely anti-hero stardom, drove him to collaborate with Tim Miller, the director of the first Deadpool movie. In 2012, Reynolds and Miller persuaded 20th Century Fox to allow them to produce test footage showcasing their vision for a Deadpool movie. They crafted a short clip, just a few minutes long, and presented it to the studio. However, instead of immediately moving forward, Fox shelved the footage. For 2 years, the project remained stagnant, with the studio continuously refusing to greenlight the film. One of the primary roadblocks was Ryan's insistence on making Deadpool an R-rated movie. At the time, this was a significant departure from the norm. Deadpool was known in Marvel Comics for its crude humor, explicit content, and graphic violence, elements that set it apart from traditional superhero films. The idea of producing a major motion picture in this genre with an R rating was a risky move, and Fox was hesitant to take the gamble. Marketing an R-rated film posed a significant challenge, as it restricted audiences under 17 from viewing it without a guardian. However, in July 2014, something unexpected happened. The test footage mysteriously leaked online. As soon as the footage surfaced, Tim Miller and others associated with the project took to Twitter, urging fans to contact the studio and demand that the film be made. They launched an online campaign, encouraging people to reach out to Fox directly. Yet, despite their enthusiasm, they remained silent on how the leak actually occurred. It was presented as a sudden, unexplained event. Almost as if they had no idea how it happened. Oh my gosh, you guys! The footage leaked. We have no clue who did it, but please contact Fox and tell them to greenlight the movie, was the general sentiment they pushed. Leaking copyrighted material, especially content belonging to a major studio like Fox, is illegal. Whoever released the footage, whether it was Tim Miller, Ryan Reynolds, or another insider, risked potential legal action. If Fox had chosen to press charges, the individual responsible could have faced serious consequences, as intellectual property theft isn't just a civil offense, it's a criminal act. Only 4 people had access to that test footage, and Ryan Reynolds was one of them. Over the years, he has credited the fans for persuading Fox to make Deadpool, but the mystery of the leak still lingers.
He shot a little bit of test footage years ago. It sat on the shelf at Fox. Nobody did anything with it, and then suddenly one day it accidentally leaked onto the internet, and that was about a year and a half ago.
Accidentally leaked.
And here we are. I mean, that was the fans that spoke. They spoke loud and proud, and they just overwhelmed Fox with response over the Deadpool movie. So they greenlit it within 24 hours.
Ryan Reynolds carefully avoided revealing who leaked the test footage. Given that only a handful of people had access to it, fans speculated about how it ended up online. However, in interviews, Ryan framed it as though the leak was an accident, shifting the focus to the fans. He credited them for their passion and dedication to Deadpool, insisting that their enthusiasm was what truly led to the film being made. This was an unprecedented move, bypassing the studio, leaking the footage illegally, and then leveraging public demand to pressure Fox into greenlighting the film. Eventually, Fox had little choice but to approve the project, though they provided only a limited budget for the first movie. Tim Miller was brought on as the director, and the screenplay had already been written years earlier. As soon as production began, Ryan took a firm grip on the creative direction. He admitted to being heavily involved and controlling, determined to ensure that Deadpool stayed true to his vision. This desire for control soon created tension between him and Tim Miller, leading to an eventual fallout. By 2016, the conflict had escalated to the point where Ryan and Tim parted ways. Tim later spoke openly about their split, citing control issues as the primary reason. In an interview with Men's Health, which was referenced in an amended complaint, Tim explained, "It became clear that Ryan wanted full control of the franchise. A director can work under those conditions successfully, but I can't. I don't mind debating, but if I can't win, I don't want to play. You can't negotiate every creative decision. There are simply too many." With Ryan established as the face of the Deadpool franchise, it became evident that his influence extended far beyond just playing the lead role. Ryan is undeniably the most crucial element of the franchise, and once he decided to take control, there was no stopping him. He later admitted that he never wanted to be in a situation again where he lacked creative control. In fact, Tim described his experience working on set with Ryan as downright traumatic, since Ryan was not only the face of Deadpool but also deeply invested in the character. He leveraged his power and influence to gain complete authority over the project. By the time Deadpool 2 was in production and eventually released, Ryan wasn't just the lead actor. He was also one of the screenwriters and a producer. His involvement was extensive. His influence could be seen in every aspect of the film. He held titles like PGA producer, screenwriter, and, of course, the main star. However, Deadpool 2 was also marred by tragedy. During the initial stages of filming in Vancouver, a stunt woman lost her life on set. This led to a lawsuit from her family, and investigations found the production in violation of safety regulations. As a result, the studio was ordered to pay the government $300,000 in fines, along with facing additional legal challenges. Despite these setbacks, both Deadpool films became massive successes. However, throughout the process, Ryan made some controversial and legally questionable moves. First, he was involved in the unauthorized release of footage, something that was against copyright laws. Second, his exertion of creative control led to a toxic work environment, ultimately resulting in a traumatic experience for director Tim. Miller's exit was ultimately pushed by Ryan, allowing him to take full control of the Deadpool franchise. As a result, he went on to create 2 more films. Deadpool and Wolverine, released in 2024, 6 years after Deadpool 2, became a massive success, breaking box office records. It was one of the highest-grossing films of 2024, earning over $1 billion worldwide. Ryan's aggressive tactics, including his unconventional and sometimes legally questionable methods to secure film rights, have been widely debated. Many believe that Wayfair took inspiration from Ryan, mirroring his approach. She allegedly followed the same playbook right before Book Bonanza, Colleen Hoover's major fan event in Texas. The multi-day event gathered fans for author meet-and-greet sessions, panel discussions, and signings taking place every June. According to court records, tensions between Lively and Boney over the film's editing had escalated months prior. On April 3rd, Sony informed Wayfair that Lively had made an unprecedented demand. She wanted exclusive access to the editing suite with her own editor. This was a shocking and overreaching request. To make matters worse, Wayfair was told that Lively had explicitly stated she would refuse to promote the film unless her demand was met. Knowing that the lead actress's lack of promotion could harm the film's success, Wayfair felt cornered. This move didn't feel like a simple professional request. It seemed like a power play, an attempt to seize creative control by holding the film's marketing efforts hostage. Left with no other option, Wayfair agreed, despite understanding the serious implications of allowing an actress to interfere in an editing process typically reserved for the director and post-production team. This decision not only set a troubling precedent, but also deepened the conflict between Lively and the rest of the team. On April 4th, a top-tier producer reached out to Lively and Belden in a group text, suggesting they hop on a call to discuss urgent matters. However, Lively was unavailable. That week, Lively did not engage in direct discussions with Boney or the lead producer regarding her demands. Then, on April 4th, another demand surfaced. Lively insisted on editing the film herself, using her own editor. The production team found themselves backed into a corner once again. To keep the project moving forward while managing her increasingly bold requests, they reluctantly agreed. As a compromise, Lively was granted 10 days in the editing suite with her personal editor, under the condition that her edits would ultimately be incorporated into Boney's director's cut. This concession was yet another attempt to maintain stability within the production. With every new demand, Lively made it explicitly clear if she didn't get her way, she would refuse to promote the film. On April 17th, Sony's marketing team and Boney worked together on a plan to have Boney attend Book Bonanza and present audiences with an exclusive early screening of the film. In an internal email exchange, Boney shared updates with Sony executives, writing, "Hi, Justin and Jamie. We heard that you love the idea of screening the movie at Book Bonanza. We love it too. I think the key is getting Lively on board early, so they can work out the details. Are you speaking with her today? I have a call scheduled with her tomorrow, and I'm happy to pitch the idea." Then he confirmed, "Yep, we have a call today," adding that Lively was on board. She planned to have her event coordinator join the meeting the next day to discuss logistics. On April 18th, in a group text involving an A-list producer, a Sony executive, Belden and Heath, they deliberated over the possibility of sending Boney's editor to New York, since Lively's preferred editor was unavailable. Heath stressed the need to clarify that while Belden had agreed to let Lively participate in the editing process, this should in no way be seen as an endorsement of the idea. With Lively granted access to the editing process, the production team moved forward with plans for a pre-screening. However, they decided to showcase only a portion of the film rather than the entire movie. This was when Lively became increasingly unhinged, escalating her demands and making threats. She insisted that if her conditions were not met, she would refuse to promote the film. She even threatened not to sign her contract, warning that other cast members and actors would follow suit. Lively also claimed that Colleen Hoover would not support the film, and as a final measure of leverage, she declared that she wouldn't ask Taylor Swift for permission to use her song in the movie, even. Though the scene had already been shown in the trailer, she continued to threaten every time she was denied something. Again and again, she used threats as leverage. During this time, a pre-screening was conducted to evaluate Bond's cut, which performed exceptionally well. Following this, Blake demanded that her version also be screened. She insisted that if her cut outperformed Bond's, then hers should be the one released. However, when her version was tested, it failed to meet expectations. Her cut received an 82% approval rating among the target audience of viewers under 35, while Bond's version scored significantly higher at 94%. Despite previously agreeing to accept the results and allow his cut to be released if hers didn't perform well, she took unprecedented measures to ensure that wouldn't happen. Instead of conceding, she announced that she would also be attending Book Bonanza, effectively replacing Boney's scheduled appearance at the event. On June 3rd, after her loss, she still refused to back down. She continued to push, pressure, and threaten, doing everything she could to assert control. On June 3rd, just before Book Bonanza, Bond was informed that Lively would now be attending alongside Hoover, taking his place. A message exchange between Jennifer Abel, his publicist at Jones Work, and Belden revealed their frustration. "Jamie just filled me in about BookCon. I know this is devastating and such a gut punch. Honestly, it's getting childish at this point. I just want to check in and make sure you're okay. We'll get through this. Keep your eye on the prize." Her. Attending BookCon is ultimately a win for the film. If she wants to drag herself all the way to Texas, let her. You can stay home with your family, and that's what really matters. Then, on June 5th, Bond's editors were tipped off by a confidential source, revealing that Lively had secretly started incorporating many of Bond's edits back into her own cut. On June 6th, the official audience testing results were released, allowing for a direct comparison between the two versions. That same day, Belden was unexpectedly hospitalized. Then, on June 12th, new information surfaced. Blake Lively informed Sony that she would be showcasing her cut of the film at Book Bonanza, regardless of whether Sony or Wayfair approved. The decision about which version of the film would be released was based on audience reception, particularly among the target demographic. Viewers under 35, since Hoover's books were primarily written for that age group. When the test screenings were conducted, Bond's cut performed significantly better. His version received a 94% overall positive rating, while Lively's scored 83%. Additionally, only 59% of those who watched her version said they would recommend it to others, compared to 74% who recommended Bond's. Although Lively's cut performed slightly better among viewers aged 35 and older, the primary target audience was Gen Z, the same demographic that had popularized Hoover's books on platforms like BookTok. Since the book was marketed as young adult fiction, it was crucial to ensure that this specific audience connected with the film. And in that regard, Bond's cut was the clear winner. So, how did Lively respond? She decided to take matters into her own hands. Instead of accepting the results, she planned to screen her version of the film at Book Bonanza without the approval or permission of Sony or Wayfair.
For the signing today,
wait, did you have this planned all along?
Oh, it was for the 20-minute clip, but I guess we have to show the whole thing. But
get in your buses fast because it's a 2-hour movie. So I'm just doing the math. If you're lining up at 8:45, you load into your bus. We gotta go. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then Brandon hasn't seen it, so we're gonna sit through it.
We just manifested that.
But
and just know, it's literally, this is not a bit. It's literally not done. So to be honest, what really happened is we were like, we're gonna show the movie, and the studio was like, no, you're gonna show 20 minutes. So we're like, no, we're gonna show the movie. And they're like, it's not done. And I was like, they don't fucking care. Let's just show them the movie.
Because you're gonna go again, aren't you? You're gonna go watch it in theaters too, twice.
And they were like, it's true. They're like, if everything's not perfect and it's not done, and what if we're going to change things? I was like, these are the people who authored the success of the book. You guys are what matter, and you guys seeing the movie is so important to us.
Ryan did something similar with Deadpool when he kept receiving rejection after rejection from Sony. When it became clear that Bond's version was going to be released, and not hers, Lively took matters into her own hands. Instead of accepting the decision, she leaked her version of the film and screened it in full for her audience at Book Bonanza. More than 2,000 people watched her cut at the event. By that point, with such a large audience having already seen it, Sony was put in an impossible position. What could they do now? Justin had essentially lost control over the situation. This is why her actions mirrored what Ryan did. It was a calculated move that forced the studio's hand. And if you want to see exactly how she framed it to her audience, I'll show you what she said. They had already arranged everything to secure a screening of Bond's cut in advance. The theater was booked and everything was set. But Blake wasn't. Satisfied, she didn't want his version to be shown. Instead, she took her own cut, stored it on a hard drive, and flew with it on a plane. There was no alternative. She went ahead and screened the full 2-hour version for an audience of over 2,000 people. The cut wasn't finalized. It wasn't polished, approved by the studio, or signed off by Wayfair. She had no authorization to show it. Yet, she still did. What's even more surprising is her reaction when she realized the pre-arranged screening had already been planned. She seemed almost shocked, asking, "Oh, was this all set up beforehand?" To which Colleen confirmed, "Yes, for the 20-minute pre-screen of Justin's cut that was scheduled to be shown." When you look at how precise and calculated Blake was, how closely she followed in her husband's footsteps, it's hard to ignore the resemblance. Ryan's influence was all over this. I've seen a lot of comments lately suggesting that I'm somehow siding with Blake, that I'm part of some CIA-backed bot campaign to support her. But that's not the case. What's important is making sure every angle of this situation is examined. Both sides of this situation need to be considered because Blake isn't acting alone. Yes, she's the one leading the charge, negotiating, with Sony making demands at Wayfair. But she's not doing it in isolation. Her husband is just as involved. Blake has repeatedly stated over the years that they never make decisions separately. Everything they do together. So it's no coincidence that she leaked the film, took it without permission, and showed the entire cut to an audience illegally, just like her husband did. Ryan's illegal leak of Deadpool forced 20th Century Fox to greenlight the film. Later, he pushed Tim Miller out by seizing creative control, allowing him to take charge of Deadpool 2 and Deadpool 3. Ryan is estimated to have made anywhere between $20 to $40 million for Deadpool 2 and another $20 million for Deadpool 3. But his real financial gain wasn't just from acting. The true success came in post-production, where he was both the producer and screenwriter. He wasn't just collecting a paycheck for starring in the films, he was also earning a significant cut as the producer, maximizing his control and profits. Tim Miller was completely pushed out of the process when the film was released, and the exact same strategy was used against Boney. The goal was to remove him, make his involvement impossible, complicate the creative process, and pressure him with threats and manipulation. Once he gave in, just like Tim Miller did, they could proceed with making It Starts With Us. However, they ran into a major roadblock. When Tim Miller left Deadpool 2, the script wasn't written yet, so Ryan took over and secured the rights for himself. But in this case, Ryan and Blake didn't own the rights to It Starts With Us. That was the key difference, preventing them from executing the same plan they had used against Tim Miller. They followed every step Ryan had taken with Deadpool, but without the sequel's rights, the entire scheme collapsed. When Ryan failed to secure ownership or pressure Wayfair into selling, everything started to unravel. That's when the sexual harassment allegations surfaced. As Ryan's marketing campaign crumbled, the backlash against Blake grew. In response, the damage to her reputation was redirected elsewhere to shift the blame. The blame was shifted onto Boney and Wayfair, accusing them of running a smear campaign. In my video yesterday, someone in the comments asked, "Why are you blaming Ryan for the marketing campaign?" The answer is simple, because it was Maximum Effort, Ryan's company, that created the campaign. Blake was the one executing the marketing strategy designed by Ryan's team. On the red carpet, she was the one being dismissive in interviews, refusing to discuss domestic violence, and trying to reframe the film as a romantic comedy. She was deliberately pushing it toward a broader audience, making it seem like an upbeat, light-hearted film. From a business perspective, this makes sense. More people are excited to watch a fun, feel-good movie than one centered around domestic violence. The problem, however, was that the book and its message were already deeply meaningful to fans. The story carried immense emotional weight, and those who had read it weren't easily misled by a deceptive marketing strategy. As a result, the campaign failed. Rather than accepting responsibility for their own missteps, Ryan and Blake needed someone else to take the fall, so they turned the blame on Boney and Wayfair. That's precisely why Bond's team believes she's being targeted. Blake is clearly following in her husband's footsteps, resorting to tactics that resemble mafia style. Extortion to get her way. But that's not how things should work, and Wayfair was the first to take a stand and say no. Now, major figures, Sony executives, Taylor Swift, and other influential names will be forced to testify. They'll have to answer tough questions. What happened here? Why did you do this? What was your role in that? This situation is putting Sony in an incredibly difficult position because they not only allowed it to happen, but were fully aware of it. There's concrete evidence to prove it. Despite Blake's claims that this is just a distraction, the reality is different. She insists it doesn't change the fact that she was sexually harassed, but the truth is, it does. She never intended to report any harassment. She never filed a complaint, never approached the union, and never took action until her reputation was at stake. Now, in an attempt to deflect blame, she's accusing others of a fabricated smear campaign that never even existed. Some of you in the comments seem to think I'm now a bot for Blake or part of the CA, but let me be clear, I'm not. I'm not pro-Blake either. This isn't just about attacking one person. We don't single out Blake, and we're not just anti-Blake. The full picture needs to be shown, and in my opinion, Ryan and Blake's influence is all over this situation. Are you surprised to hear about the illegal tactics they've used and the mafia-style extortion involved? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. About 60% of you watch these videos regularly, but still haven't subscribed. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you never miss an update. Drop your thoughts below. Share this video with your friends. And thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye, guys!